All right, welcome back to Local News Live. I'm Victoria Shirley, and joining me here is
Teia Goodwin. Good morning.
Good morning. It is Monday, October 10th. I almost said August 10th. Time warp.
It's okay.
And it is time for your top national headlines. I'm going to be going through your top national headlines. And Teia, can you talk to us about what you'll be showing us?
So we have a lot of updates. A couple of those updates are from stories that we reported on earlier, and we are just bringing you forward with what is happening in those recent developments. Also, a very interesting story out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So we have a lot to get to.
All right, we will get you that in just a moment. But first, we're going to go through your top national headlines. Let's talk a little bit. Let's actually give you a preview here of what we'll be talking about. Lots to cover today, and let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, so the House Democrats are seeking to censor Marjorie Taylor Greene. We'll tell you what she has said to get House Democrats wanting to take this action, and Iranians are holding more protests despite a brutal crackdown. And in Texas, El Paso has launched a migrant awareness dashboard. What does that look like, and what is the purpose? We'll tell you in just a few moments. And colonoscopies may reduce cancer deaths by 50%. That's according to a study. And then we have a few more on the next headline for you. All right, and the iPhone 14 keeps calling 911 on roller coasters. It's a new feature on the new iPhone, and now it's causing some issues. In Mississippi, a former governor has been subpoenaed in the Brett Favre fraud case, and it is Native American Day 2022 and World Mental Health Day. Also, a new drive-through report says Chick-fil-A has the slowest drive-through. That may be surprising to some, but we'll tell you who has the fastest drive-through. So let's launch right into your top headlines for today. But first, let's start with, let's go to the Washington, D.C. story, our state capital there, and talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. House Democrats are planning to censor Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene again. This time it's over Greene's Joe Biden is Hitler social media post. Democrat Representative Brad Schneider of Illinois introduced the censure-related resolution on Thursday. Schneider also drafted a censure resolution last summer after Greene compared COVID-19 mask mandates to the Holocaust. But Schneider dropped the resolution after Greene issued an apology following a visit to the Holocaust Memorial Museum. This time, the resolution is co-sponsored by several other members of Congress, including Nikema Williams from Greene's home state of Georgia. However, Congress will not be able to vote on the resolution until after the midterm elections because it's in recess until mid-November. All right, turning now a little bit to world news. Anti-government protests in Iran. All right, let's turn on that audio for you and show you that video again. All right, anti-government protests in Iran are still going strong despite a massive crackdown by security forces, with demonstrators chanting "Women, Life, Freedom," the signature slogan of the uprising. More rallies were held Saturday in many parts of the country. Activists say security forces tried to stop the movement and killed at least 2 people as they fired at the crowds, but demonstrators have remained defiant. They're still calling for an end to authoritarianism, with many demanding the ouster of their leaders. All right, let's go now to Texas, a little closer to home. El Paso has launched a dashboard to see how many migrants it serves. It shows the city has served more than 14,900 migrants since early September. It's called the Migrant Situational Awareness Dashboard. According to the data, more than 8,000 have been bused to New York and 2,300 to Chicago since the end of August. They are offering city-funded journeys after being processed and released. Each day, border officials encounter an average of 1,500 migrants in the El Paso region. This influx of migrants have also been testing the city's infrastructure. About 70% of migrants arrived at El Paso. They come from Venezuela. All right, turning now to some health news here. A new study suggests colonoscopy may reduce the risk of dying of colorectal cancer by as much as 50%. Of course, there's always a catch to these studies. The catch is that is only true in people who actually get the scan. The study published Sunday in the New England Journal of Medicine looked at 84,000 European patients. Those who agreed to undergo colonoscopy reduced their risk by 31% compared to those who were not screened. But the study also determined that 455 people would need to be invited to a colonoscopy to prevent one case of cancer. The authors admitted they actually expected an even more convincing result from this study. All right, this story has been going around on social media quite a bit today. The iPhone 14's new crash detection feature is causing problems with people who get on roller coasters and keep their iPhone 14s on them. That's because the phones have automatically been calling 911. Let's dig into this one a little bit more in case you're an iPhone 14 user. Apple's latest phone is reportedly experiencing its own accident on roller coasters by dialing 911. The feature has set off false alarms for emergency personnel near Cincinnati's Kings Island amusement park. They received at least 6 iPhone emergency calls since the new smartphone went on sale in September. Similar 911 calls have originated from passengers on a roller coaster at Six Flags Great America near Chicago. The same feature detection technology is also featured on the Apple Watch 8. The fix is simple: putting the iPhone 14 and the Apple Watch 8 on airplane mode before boarding a roller coaster. Okay, turning now to Mississippi. Let's dig into this case here. Former Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant is facing a subpoena related to Brett Favre. The NFL Hall of Famer is caught up in a civil suit over an alleged multi-million-dollar welfare fraud scandal. Attorneys for the defendant, Austin Smith, say they want to see communications between the ex-governor and athlete. The state is suing Smith for the return of more than $425,000. It's also accusing Favre of pressuring a company in which he was invested to seek non-profit money. All right, that is the latest when it comes to your top national headlines. Let's bring in Teia Goodwin, my co-host here this morning, for the very latest when it comes to the local national headlines. Teia, good morning.
Good morning. We have a lot of things to get to this morning related to top headlines, and we are actually going to get started out of Alabama, and that is where a woman has been charged after refusing to let 2 boys leave after a sleepover. So we are going to get you over to our station, WBRC, out of Birmingham, Alabama, as they have the latest on this story.
Lou said 2 boys who were locked inside a barricaded apartment are now safe this morning.
Their parents called police when they said that their neighbor would not let the kids out of the apartment. Tuscaloosa police arrested this woman, Dasha Charnel Bishop. Now, she's charged with felony interference of custody. Police say that the parents allowed their 2 boys to spend the night at Bishop's apartment on Saturday, but when they tried to pick them up around noon yesterday, they say Bishop refused to open the door. Now, they called police, who shared these images of the scene. A special response team went there, forced their way into that apartment.
We tried to make contact with her. She barricaded herself in the back bedroom with both children on the bed. Officers, when they made that final entry, got the children, struggled with her to take the children from her. It just had the safest outcome as possible.
Dasha Bishop was taken to the Tuscaloosa County Jail on a $15,000 bond. Well,
And to see this story again, you can head over to our station, WBRC.com. The next story that we are going to bring to you is out of Savannah, Georgia, and that is where the search continues for a 3-year-old boy who went missing on Wednesday. We are going to get you over to our station, WTOC. They have the latest.
Community details, of course, still limited, but we have been hearing from Chatham County Police over the weekend, and they say this is still their highest priority, and they're continuing to work with the FBI to find out where Quentin went. Now, police announced a new tip line number. You can see it right there on your screen. Officials say that when you call this number, it goes directly to a detective, and this is only used for tips in helping to find little Quentin. Now, if you do call and it goes to voicemail, they say just leave a message. And of course, if you do see Quentin, they ask that you immediately call 911. Quentin was last seen wearing a Sesame Street shirt and black pants. Now, as a reminder, Quentin was last seen by his mother's boyfriend around 6 a.m. on Wednesday. More than 3 hours later, his mother called and reported him missing. The initial report was that he wandered off, and Chief Hadley says his mother has been questioned by police, and this is still a missing persons case, and they have no reason to suspect foul play. Police say they were out recanvassing some of those areas of their search over the weekend, and at this time they say the best way that you can help out is to report anything that you know about where Quentin might be, or if you saw anything along Buckhalter Road on Wednesday morning. Now, police say at this time they do not need any help from volunteers. We'll keep you updated as we continue to get some more details as we now head into day 6 of Quentin still missing.
All right.
We will continue to bring you updates related to this story and the missing toddler out of our station WTOC as the news continues to develop related to that story. The next story that we're going to get to you is out of Phoenix, Arizona, and that is where a community protested after a man was shot and killed by police after throwing rocks. His family says he was having a mental health crisis. Our station KTVK, they have the latest on this story.
Police officers shooting and killing a man last month for throwing rocks at them. Loved ones and community members coming together today for Ali Osman. His family says deadly force was not necessary.
Tonight, a peaceful protest was held at a park near downtown Phoenix. Our Christiana Ramos was at tonight's rally and joins us live with reaction. Christiana?
Well, it's been 2 weeks since Ali Osman was shot and killed by Phoenix officers, and all the family is asking for is accountability. They say Osman was having a mental health crisis and he didn't deserve to die.
Justice for Ali Osman! Justice for Ali Osman! Justice for Ali Osman!
Tonight, community outrage after Phoenix police officers shot and killed Ali Osman for throwing rocks at them.
The Phoenix Police Department is known to be one of the deadliest forces in the United States.
The body camera footage was released on Friday. It shows officers open fire seconds after exiting their cars. It's raised questions about the department's response protocols to mental health crises.
We have to, bring back humanity in policing in general, and acknowledge that, obviously this was a mental health crisis situation, and reacting in a lethal manner so quickly is just wrong.
The family has already taken the first steps of a wrongful death lawsuit against the city of Phoenix. Fatima Bithri is a family friend who helped organize a community protest today in support of the family's demands.
We are just hoping for an apology as well. That's really our point for today. And just to show true integral changes within the police department to have those mental health services, a more social service approach.
Ricardo Villafan came from Maryville to protest. He says in his family, being silent kept you out of trouble. But Ali Osman's story changed that.
It may not affect you personally, but it could be your friend or a family member, and you're not going to be very quiet when that happens. So please start coming out. The sooner we can come out to make a change, show our support, the faster we can get to more positive changes for our community.
The 2 officers are on paid leave, which is standard protocol. The Phoenix Police Department says there is an investigation going on, a criminal and internal investigation, and that they will not comment any further. In Phoenix, Christiana Ramos, Arizona's family.
And to continue following this story, you can head over to azfamily.com. Our next top headline that's trending across our gray stations this morning is related to a nursing strike. What is happening in Connecticut is that nurses there are getting some support from a Connecticut senator. We are going to get you over to our station, WFSB, for all the details on this story.
Contract. And today, Senator Richard Blumenthal will share his support for the nurses who are demanding better pay and health insurance from the hospital, along with an end to mandatory overtime.
Eyewitness News reporter Audrey Russo is live now in Rocky Hill with those details. Good morning, Audrey. Good morning, Roger and Caitlin. That's right. Senator Blumenthal will be sharing his support at 12:30 here at the AFT Connecticut building in Rocky Hill. His support comes as the unionized nurses say that Windham Hospital is keeping units closed, and they say that that is putting patients at risk. So let's rewind back to the end of September. That's when the nurses at Windham Hospital went on a 2-day strike. Windham Hospital is operated by Hartford Healthcare. They say that Windham Hospital had to close down units as a result of this strike and stop admitting patients from other emergency departments like the one at Bacchus Hospital. Now, nurses at both Bacchus and Windham wrote a letter to the State Department of Public Health saying that this has caused a chain reaction at other emergency departments, causing them to become overcrowded with unsafe patient-to-nurse ratios. They say in part, quote, by keeping units closed and census low at Windham, it allows Hartford Healthcare to cancel nurses' shifts after those nurses went on a 2-day unfair labor practice strike. Now, at 12:30, when Senator Blumenthal speaks, he's expected to cite a study from the Yale School of Medicine talking about this problem pretty much nationwide with emergency departments being overcrowded. Now, Windham Hospital's president says that when they were at the negotiating table with the nurses union, they offered them a salary that was about 5% higher than the average salary for nurses in our state. They say that they are continuing to be open to negotiations and counter proposals from the union. Now, how this is all going to shake out and whether or not Senator Blumenthal's support is going to move the needle, only time will tell, but we'll continue to cover the latest developments both on air and on the Channel 3 app. Live in Rocky Hill, Audrey Russo for Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
And we will have comments from Senator Blumenthal later today, and we will bring that coverage to you on Local News Live from our station WFSB. Our final story that we're going to bring to you that is trending across our gray stations is how a hunter in Louisiana has found a bit of history along the Mississippi River. We're going to get you over to our station WAFB for the latest.
Is at its lowest level since 1992. That as treasure hunters scouring the lower levee looking for trinkets which wash downriver. And one person found a bit of history. Our Rick Porche has more.
Along the banks of the Mississippi River, among the discarded ropes and tangles of driftwood, you'll find Patrick Ford.
Every now and again, I like to just come walk by the river to see what's happening and just look for fun little treasures.
What he found last month was too big for a treasure chest.
I had no idea what I was walking over. I was literally walking on top of this mud embankment here.
A few broken posts, one short plank.
I thought it was maybe perhaps an old retaining wall.
He didn't think much of it at the time and continued looking for something he could show off to his friends. But when he came back last week, that one plank had grown.
Wow, I think wow is a good word for it.
Into a bit of river lore.
I passed it by and looked back, and then I realized I saw this part of the ship where it comes to that little point, and at that point I realized that maybe it was something a little bit more special than that, than a wall.
We have here a piece of history from 1896 to 1915 in Baton Rouge's waterfront.
That's state archaeologist Chip McGimsey. He thinks Patrick stumbled onto the wreck of an early Baton Rouge ferry boat, the SS Brookhill.
If it's the boat we think it is, she sank on September 29th, 1915.
The Brookhill was a bootjack ferry, kind of like the one here. 2 wooden pontoons supported a deck, boiler, and a paddle wheel to carry livestock, wagons, and people from Port Allen to the Baton Rouge Business District. Archaeologists last saw the Brookhill back in 1992, the last time the river was this low.
Probably only 10% of what we see today was visible then, so we're going to learn a lot more about it. Mother Nature has very kindly removed most of the sediment from inside and around it before she made it visible.
Really? Wow.
Next week, a team from the state will document as much as they can of what's left of the Brookhill, hoping to learn how she was built. McGimsey says she's not important enough to try to save.
I find it just so interesting that this ship was built so long ago, and it had a little ship life, and it sank, and it's still here all these years later.
So much of our history is just words on a page. Stale, dead.
So this part of the ship was exposed. I thought
Patrick's find gives us a glimpse into our past we can touch and feel. A treasure that's real until the river claims her once again. In Baton Rouge, Rick Porche, WAFB 9 News.
Rick, thank you.
And that marks the end of our top headlines that are trending across our Gray stations this morning for Monday, October 10th.
All right, thank you so much for that, Teia. We always appreciate seeing what our Gray TV stations have for us. I'm going to share a few fun stories now. And let me actually, I'm going to hear from Teia in a second. What I want to do, I have 3 fun stories. I'm going to read each of them, and then we'll talk about it between each one. So let's first start with, it is Native American Day 2022. Let's jump into this story. All right, from helping the Pilgrims survive a harsh winter to speaking in a code that helped the Allies win World War II, Monday, today, is a day to honor the contributions of Native Americans. Native American Day is recognized in many states, including California and South Dakota, and is known as Indigenous Peoples Day in some parts of the country. It falls on the same day as Columbus Day as a way to honor the people already living in the country when Christopher Columbus landed in 1492. The influence of Native American culture can be seen literally everywhere. In many parts of the country, rivers, towns, and other landmarks still bear the names originally given by native tribes. Indigenous people aided Europeans throughout the country's development early as the first permanent settlement at Plymouth Rock. They served as teachers, guides, and doctors. Though Europeans and Native Americans would also embark on a relationship frequently mired in conflict, Indigenous people have left an indelible mark of culture and traditions on the United States. And all right, Teia, as 2 individuals who live in a city called Omaha, we see how we are able to see the marks left by the Indigenous people of our country, and it is important to remember what they've done and the fact that they were here first.
Yes, Indigenous Peoples Day is a really great day just to acknowledge, all parts of our American culture, including those that are a part of an Indigenous heritage. So I've been looking at so many stories this morning, Victoria, of just how different parts of the country are celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day. So really great.
Yeah, so it will continue to be a story that I'm sure Teia will see trending on all of our Gray TV websites, and undoubtedly when they are in their morning meetings deciding what stories to cover that day, I'm sure this will be one of them. And we'll be looking for those stories and we'll share them with you here on Local News Live. All right, the next story here is something that we were just talking about today, Teia. It is World Mental Health Day. So let's talk a little bit more about that day and what it means. Let me pull up my video here for you. All right, it is World Mental Health Day, October 10th. That's the day. Put it in your calendars for every year. It raises awareness and mobilizes efforts to support mental health. In 2020, mental health related visits to emergency rooms jumped 31% among kids 12 to 17 years old. 9 out of 10 adults think the U.S. is in a crisis, according to a CNN Kaiser Family Foundation poll. But even with these higher numbers, the stigma surrounding mental health has been slowly going away, and many issues are finally getting attention. Mental health involves someone's social, emotional, and psychological well-being, affecting feelings, thoughts, and actions. Of all the types of disorder, statistics show over 18% of the U.S. population suffer from anxiety. A great way to observe is to discuss it openly with loved ones. All right, Teia, we are taking that first step here today, discussing mental health openly. And actually, I'm popping up the wrong video here. Let's press the right buttons. That is one of the most important parts of this job here at Local News Live. All right, so the big point of today, Teia, is to talk openly about mental health. And we're doing that right now by sharing that it's World Mental Health Day.
Yes, and I think so much has happened just within the past few years to really address reducing the stigma surrounding mental health. One statistic that has been cited just with it being Mental Health Awareness Day is that about 19.86% of adults struggle or with mental health So it's something that's very important, and I think that just maintaining our mental health is very important. Seeing a therapist if you need it, and it's okay. So I think it's a really great thing, and I hope that with this day, it encourages anyone who needs to talk to someone about mental health to do that.
Yes, and Tia, I was just having this discussion with someone the other day. They had never seen a therapist, and they didn't even know where to start, where to begin. And I told them these days you can go online, and therapy can be in the form of a number of things. It doesn't have to be that traditional setting you see like in the movies when you're lying on a chaise lounge and you're telling a therapist with their glasses on their nose, you know, how does that make you feel? No, it can come in a different number of ways. You can go on a website and fill out a chat box. You can communicate via text. You can communicate via email. You can talk through a FaceTime Zoom session. There's all kinds of ways, and it's very accessible these days. And a lot of companies offer free therapy sessions. Here at Gray TV, Tia, I don't know if you're aware, but they have increased the amount of therapy sessions from 3 to 5. And
wow, I didn't know
yeah,
that.
and it's completely free. No ding on your insurance, nothing. It's free, and a lot of companies offer that. So if you have never been to therapy, not speaking you specifically to you, but the general you, and you're wanting to know, how do I get started? You know, check your company first, and you'd be surprised how many companies offer free therapy sessions.
And there's a lot of great free resources, and I think that's one thing that we're going to talk about with it being Mental Health Awareness Today. A little later in the day, we are going to talk about those topics that are being covered across our Gray stations in the United States related to mental health, and with that, we will provide some resources. So if anyone just has interest in pursuing mental health resources, we will let you know what companies are available. And like you said, Victoria, they have text. You can do telehealth and kind of have a phone call. A lot of options.
Yes, a lot of options. And the stigma is going away. So, you know, you don't have to feel like you're the only one that's going through therapy. All right, Tia, let's shift gears a little bit to something that does help some people's mental health. I don't know if that was kind of not the right way to segue into this, but I'm going to keep you on camera, Tia, because I want to get your thoughts. All right, here we go.
Okay.
All right, a recent study was done about all of the fast food drive-thrus. And so we're learning that the slowest is actually surprisingly Chick-fil-A. But do you have a guess? Just take a stab at what you think is the quickest, the fastest drive-thru.
That's hard. I'm going to say maybe Taco Bell or McDonald's.
Okay, so if I hadn't read the script, I would have thought it would have been Chick-fil-A, because I feel like Chick-fil-A is like this well-oiled machine. No matter how long the line is, like you're getting through, and it's going to be an orderly process. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what the answer is here for you. All right, when it comes to fast food, Taco Bell, ding, 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 you're so right, Tia, has the fastest drive-through line, and Chick-fil-A is the industry's slowest. According to the 2002 QSR drive-through report, Chick-fil-A may be the slowest only because it's so popular and there are so many cars in line. While Chick-fil-A customers spent the most time in line, they don't seem to mind giving the chain a 93% satisfaction rating for speed. The second slowest drive-through, according to the survey, is McDonald's. But customers also gave the chain high marks in terms of accuracy of orders filled. First place for the fastest drive-through went to Taco Bell with an average time of 221 seconds, meaning most customers get their food in well under 4 minutes. Across the board, service was 10 seconds faster than last year when the pandemic caused more staff shortages and closed dining rooms. But service was still off the pre-pandemic 2019 pace when quick service restaurants got the food out 45 seconds faster on average. All right, what are your thoughts, Tia? Let's hear them.
I was a little surprised that Chick-fil-A was the slowest. That is not anything that I was expecting, but I think part of it is kind of how it looks. So I don't know if you've had this where maybe they'll have like their iPad and they're going car to car taking orders.
Yep.
So I was a little surprised, but No problem.
Yeah, you're right. The optics make you feel like you're being taken care of. 'Cause even though you may be sitting there in line, you have these teens, these kids walking through the line with their iPads, getting your order, getting you checked in. And maybe it just feels like you've already been taken care of instead of waiting to drive up to that window. So very
Maybe so.
interesting. And I will say to you, I don't know if you've been to McDonald's recently. I usually try to avoid McDonald's, but sometimes you have to go. A lot of McDonald's in our area have replaced the person in the drive-through lane with a machine, a robot.
Yes, I actually was at McDonald's this weekend, and I think I just bought a soda, but it was like an automation.
Yes.
And I was like, well, okay, but they got it right. So
Well, hey, see, for me, it's
fine by
tricky
me.
because I'm a vegetarian, so I'm always trying to customize my orders. And the very first time I tried to go through that drive-through, I think I broke the machine because the machine's like, okay, forwarding you to a human. And I'm like, thank you. All right, well, that is your latest talkers for the day here on Local News Live. Let's leave you with one of our favorite videos to share with you, and that is the video explaining what Local News Live is. We are part of Gray Television. Gray Television owns more than 100 stations from coast to coast, even in Alaska and Hawaii, and you can see all of those dots on your screen. There's a newsroom in each of those cities with hardworking journalists, and we try to share their stories with you here on Local News Live. We'll be right back.